Corporate Governance Toolkit, Cream Ratings Podcast Episode Number 3. The content of the Corporate Governance Toolkit. Number 1. An intro. Number 2. What is corporate governance? It is measuring cost consequence now. Highlighting the cost of inaction. Number 3. Corporate Management Operating Systems Framework. Cream Ratings provides the architecture for every business enterprise. Explication of corporate laws and management quality. Number 4. Corporate governance, a dynamic function. Number 5. Positioning corporate governance in the Corporate Management Operating Systems Framework. Number 6. Corporate governance, status of development, spot your position.
Hello friends, welcome to the third episode, Corporate Governance Toolkit. In the first episode, I made a mention about the overall objective, what you can look for on Project Elite. Elite is education and learning, where individuals on successful completion would become Cream Ratings certified professionals, capable of preparing a Cream report for the organization they work for in different capacities. The one which I had put in Deming is available for the purpose of getting the Cream rating certification process. I've also put in my creamratings.com the further ones on Project Elite. That is, you have whatever that you get in Udemy, you get it here in creamratings.com for the purpose of education and learning, understanding the concept. And also, I've given it as a subscription rate on a monthly basis or on an annual basis. The reason is this, is to go further on Project Elite, that is implementation, training and execution. It's going to be very important for the purpose of further developing the concept. The concept is a very most advanced system of project planning and strategy plan 2030, which I made a mention very clearly on episode number 2. The episode number 2 is about COVID-19, post-COVID-19, why the corporate restructuring has to be done.
Number 2. What is corporate governance? It is measuring cost consequence now. Highlighting the cost of inaction.
Episode number 2 is post-COVID-19 corporate restructuring. There in that episode, I made a mention about the need for restructuring the organization from the current level to a three-dimensional level of corporate atomic structure. It's going to be very crucial in terms of Strategy Plan 2030, bringing CIGR to CDGR. And most importantly, I made a mention about the subtitle, Measure Cost Consequence Now. Measuring the cost consequence is an important aspect of any organization. That is what we are here in the episode number 3, which is Corporate Governance Toolkit. What is corporate governance? We will get into it. And if you look at what I just stated, corporate governance, it is actually measure cost consequence now. Governance is a dynamic function. We cannot be weighting ex post facto of variance analysis. We got to, it's like a video that is displayed in a GPS and while traveling by app, giving the where we are and what situation, how long we have to reach, and everything is we are able to get the mapping. That is, a mapping is needed in any organization. That's why strategic plan 2030 is going to be crucial. When we say that that is the target point, 2030. Just like if you get off from London, is going to land in New York. We know when exactly we are going to land in New York. That's what that GPS video gives you. Same thing is being expected from a company. We are doing that ex post facto debit credit framework is too late. It is unacceptable. That's what I would like to say. That is because of the corporate governance. The corporate governance is a dynamic fashion. So I shall explain to you the slot the corporate governance has in an organization. What is corporate governance? I'll tell you that when it happened for Volkswagen diesel software, the problem, there was an immediate reaction from Hermes EOS, the stewardship division of Hermes Investment Management, calling for an overhaul of the management and corporate governance culture at Volkswagen. What is corporate governance culture? The business enterprise is a profound thought of good intentions towards the society, which sets apart corporate culture over individual choice. A culture is a function of true knowledge of awareness and identity with the ethical responsibility, that by which corporate infers and society teaches. So when you look at the corporate governance culture, how is it different from corporate governance? Just after that, I had about 4 articles I wrote on Volkswagen after the fiasco, and it was very well received. More than about 10,000 viewers when I posted in SlideShare. And one of the major article was, who failed Volkswagen? Is it corporate governance or management quality? The same thing I repeated when Infosys had a problem. Who failed Infosys? Is it corporate governance or management quality? At the same time, I wrote another article subsequently. Who failed the 4 big audit firms? Is it corporate governance or management quality? Here, the interesting factor that I am bringing is something add-on. One was corporate culture, one was corporate governance. Then I'm adding another called management quality. It's going to be interesting. I shall explain to you.
Number 3. Corporate Management Operating Systems Framework. CREAM ratings provides the architecture for every business enterprise. Explication of corporate laws and management quality.
The 3 jargons: corporate governance, culture, management quality, are brought under a single framework. Let me give a brief info on that. How is it done? It's called the CREAM ratings framework. CREAM is corporate governance, risk management, earnings, accounting quality, and management quality. It has both quantitative and as well as qualitative elements in management. If you look at that corporate social responsibility, I split this into two different areas: corporate fiscal responsibility and corporate ethical responsibility. And a corporate ethical responsibility, we have A&M, accounting quality and management quality. And a corporate fiscal responsibility, we have corporate governance and risk management. And E, the center of it, is earnings, which has got both profits and growth, both are there. So if you look into that, corporate culture emanates from the management quality, and corporate governance culture, again, it's the same like a risk management culture. The culture is being imbibed by tradition, by practice, and by enforcement of law. Adherence to the laws and policies are the most important one, and that is where accounting quality and management quality shine. When accounting quality and management quality, you don't find a place in an area like cheat software, you have a problem. The corporate governance is not possible. When you find Cyrus mystery, a specific area, an undefined code of conduct being brought into focus, the CEO team cannot function. In Infosys too, the same. Both the board as well as the CEO got mixed up, and Narayana Murthy had to necessarily step in and brought into force the corporate culture. Reminding of corporate culture is not essential. What is crucial is to practice the corporate culture which has been established in A&M, accounting quality and management quality. In the case of corporate governance and risk management governance, I would say, is sustainability of efficiency. That's what we get because it's an action process. All set, we have right from the day one of establishing a joint stock company, profits. Profits are must. That's why a company is being created, which we go into detail on the earnings of what the profits are, what the growth is. When you look at profits, it comes out of handling of the corporate governance. That's what my subtitle says: measure cost consequence now, now, now.
Number 4. Corporate governance, a dynamic function.
Measuring the cost consequence now, now, now establishes the corporate governance, the governance, dynamic function. That's what it says. You got to do it right now. Do not postpone it. So in the CREAM ratings framework, you have two areas: corporate governance, risk management, which establish the sustainability of efficiency. That's what that governance being governed as a dynamic function. Then you have accounting quality and management quality, any number of them. There's quite many. In fact, 170 process blocks which CREAM ratings analyzes. 12 are for earnings, 158 are from accounting quality and management quality. And they are the ones which gives the base of sustainability of value system. Yes, sustainability of efficiency give you profits, whereas sustainability of value systems give you profits and growth. Growth is very important. If we do not have that corporate culture being brought in year after year, in case of Tata, it's 150 years. I won't blame Ratan Tata. He feels he's in charge of the corporate culture. But what he feels is in terms of not bringing into notice, yeah, Cyrus Mistry, what he was supposed to do. That's why it is the board undertaking the ethical responsibility, which Ratan Tata was in charge, and the CEOs undertaking the fiscal responsibility, which is now handled by Chandrasekhar and the various CEO team. One has to have a very clear-cut idea about that exactly the individual companies grow. For growth pattern, sustainable value system is essential. And that alone will bring you the sustainability of profits and growth. Let's continue. This is critically analyzed. We will go further on that in this particular module, in this particular corporate governance toolkit. This should give a basis of analysis how well corporate governance does. And I will also add here in terms of another area which is important and why we got identified in terms of the slot. The slot in terms of not only corporate governance, not only corporate culture, and how we got to build a logically structured analytics for cream ratings as a whole.
Number 5. Positioning corporate governance in the corporate management operating systems framework.
Three different expressions we had taken note of. One is corporate governance, another is corporate governance culture, and the third factor which had been brought by me is management quality. We will go into it in detail what we refer to these areas, how they are relevant within the corporate management operating system. We got to have a slot. Where is a slot for corporate governance? Where is the slot for corporate governance culture? Where exactly the slot for management quality? What I mean by it. Let me explain. Before going into the detail, let me say that we have called this particular episode as Corporate Governance Toolkit. While going through this dictionary meaning of toolkit, I get these areas. There's a set of tools, especially when kept in a bag or a box or used for a particular purpose. And it also says, as far as the computing is concerned, a set of software tools. I'm interested in that because I 4.0, the fourth industrial revolution, is about creating an exceptional good database. When we talk of corporate governance, when we try to bring that up in terms of three different areas of the slots, management, corporate management operating system would be fit into. So, in that respect, the computing experts have to necessarily look into it as to the feasibility. We are talking the subject matter, how it is being converted into an objective quantitative analysis, and how the culture can be turned and brought under a logical structure like that of the mathematical and natural sciences, how it is being done. I had done my autocad language training for IBM 1401 years back. Subsequently, I didn't continue with the software coding business, but I'm aware how exactness is imperative for software coding people. So when we talk about the corporate governance and where exactly the slot is, how mathematically we could connect one with the other is what the software tools can look into and develop for the corporate management operating system. It also says the toolkit definitions: a personal set of resources, abilities, or skills. The intuition developed from stock market, past stock market experience, becomes a vital part of an investor's toolkit. There's another interesting one which I will discuss in this episode 3. I essentially hope everything is in a short, not elaborating too much. In many of the instances, I do take from my book extract, and explain and derive where the corporate, the corporate governance sits into this slot. Now, going into it, again, I shall quote from the knowledge part of it, from the book extract. Knowledge is the goal of ethics, my book says. To give the definition of it, a rule expresses the truth and justifies the conduct. This is a general rule when we try to get the rule established, and justifies the conduct. There are two different domains, two different spectrum. One is what you express the truth and how you justify that particular rule. The rule is what we have. Many number of rules are available. To start with, when we start a company, joint stock company, we have the memorandum and articles of association. And that is the rule which expresses the truth, how we are going to take it up further. Justifying the conduct is in a different domain that comes later, after a creation of memorandum and articles of association. In my first episode, I made a reference as to the area where we have only two processes. Nay, the whole universe has got only two processes. That's how it functions, which is a creative process and action process. In the creative process is the rule. We have to create it. If you don't have the rule being created, then nothing to be told about. We are not talking about the rules which is not being created. We are talking about the rules which are being created. So there's a creative process. In the case of the book in Cream Ratings, what we are trying to give the knowledge transfer from me to those who listen to it is that we go by the rule. A rule expresses the truth and justifies the conduct. To define further, when it is being certified to have been followed as prescribed, then it justifies the conduct. The truth is the ethics, and that conduct is knowledge. Like, for example, if we have the FDA, rule is prescribed, then when they are being certified to have been followed as prescribed, then it justifies the conduct of the rule. The truth is ethics, and that conduct is knowledge. Therefore, knowledge is the goal of ethics. We try to create the knowledge of the goal of ethics. Ethics is the truth, which is come out of the rule which we create. What we do in our management quality It starts with two: memorandum and articles of association. That is the starting point the as far as the management quality is concerned. Then we develop any number of policy statements. The policies could be UNGC, the 10 principles, which has environmental rights, human rights, labor rights, anti-corruption drive. Everything is prescribed. We have 17 SDGs that talk about 9 of social, and 4 of environmental, and 4 of economic goals, economic development goals. These are the things that get into the basic nature of management quality. You have conflict of interest, you have insider trading, you have conflict of conscience, you have conflict of personal interest, you have code of conduct, you have code of business principles. These are the things that get accumulated into the management quality. The management quality consists of a variety of such of these policy statements which have been created. That is the outcome of the creative process. As in, when you get into my creamratings.com 9 modules, you would be in a position to go to how the strategy plan 2030 is being created, or project seed, which is social, environmental, economic development, takes place methodically. And that is the one how we create the creative process. Creative process has got about 6 elements, 6 stages, from nothingness to a tangible substance. The tangible substance is your policy statement. How it goes step by step and how it is being analyzed is what the strategy plan with the benchmarks and the metrics being created, you will look into it. In this case of corporate governance, when you look at one spectrum is corporate governance, the other spectrum is management quality. Management quality has any number of policies which ought to be adhered to. Is a set of rules, is a rule book that expresses the truth and justifies the conduct. Where does conduct comes? Action process. So in the creative process, we create the policies on a set of rules, and then it justifies the conduct. That means it's in the action process. That's what is said about FDA approved or HACCP, any one of those things. It justifies the conduct, whether we go by the rule book. So corporate governance is one end, which is in the action process. Whereas management quality consists of several policies, is in the management quality. So when we have in between the reference as to the corporate governance culture, which was talked about by Hamish EOS, the Hamish Investment Management, calling for the management on corporate governance culture at Volkswagen. When you talk of a culture, as we said, is a area where it's a function of true knowledge of awareness and identity with ethical responsibility, that by which corporate infers and society teaches. That's what I said earlier. This again is a book extract. The society part of it is very concerned about and how a culture functions. So when you say corporate culture, corporate governance culture is part and parcel of corporate culture. Corporate culture has any number of policy statements. Every one of the policy statements, every one of them is a rule book, has to be taken into account, and that rule which had been created, which expresses the truth, and how the justifying the contact is being done, is the corporate governance. That is the action process. So if you talk of corporate governance culture in a company like 150, 60 years old company like Tata Group, corporate culture is corporate governance culture. And most of them may not be defined. That is where the problem arises. When you try to find out the corporate culture, when Cyrus Mistry was trying to find out the corporate culture or behaved as he wanted, which possibly is not linked to the any written rule book, it becomes very difficult. So when you do the management quality, when you entrust the CEO with a full responsibility, fiscal responsibility, that's why I've been telling about the dividing or corporate atomic structure, protons being the board and electron being the practices, CEO team practices. You've got to differentiate between fiscal responsibility and ethical responsibility. When you do that, the board undertakes the ethical responsibility and the CEO team undertakes the fiscal responsibility. When we have that clear division of responsibilities, both ethical as well as the fiscal responsibilities, there is no worry about the continuity. So if the management quality does not bring about any problem areas between the newly appointed CEO and that of the board or who is supposed to take care of the corporate culture, and we got to necessarily bring it up and make it known to, say, a Tata company, Tata Group, make your rule expressing the truth in a very clear-cut manner. The policy statements that are being created is just like that, that of the, inventors' steps, same steps, 6. Out of the nothingness, you got to bring out a paper. If you look at that Infosys, which I mentioned, it's also same. And there was no clear-cut instruction between how the board has to function, and how that Sika, who was thrown out as a CEO, is a confusion that brings. The confusion that is brought about. The third factor which I mentioned is about who failed the 4 audit firms, big audit firms, whether it's corporate governance or management quality. We are clear about Volkswagen. We are clear about Tata's. We are clear about Infosys, but we are not clear about the big 4 audit firms. I'll come to that. I'll explain next. Thank you.
Number 6. Corporate governance, status of development, spot your position.
Here I shall analyze the 3 stages of mental evolution. I'm reading from my book about what I had written. Dr. Radhakrishnan, Indian philosopher and former President of India, mentions Pascal's well-known classification of the ways to belief, custom, reason, and inspiration. Suggests 3 stages of mental evolution: sense, reason, and intuition. though they are not to be regarded as chronologically successive and separate, he says. In youth, we rise from the empirical to the dialectical stage when we argue and derive conclusion from the observed data. Think about it. This is where we are. Corporate is now at this stage. We deal only with quantitative elements. It is object oriented. We are very objective, in fact. And we totally depend on balance sheet being prepared by every company. Millions of companies are there, and naturally one is going to say, yeah, we can't have go deep into each and every company. So we try to attach importance for quantitative elements as represented and given by the balance sheets. This is where we got to come out of it. We are in the dialectical stage when we argue and derive conclusion from the observed data. This is what we can do. That's what we are doing. Then the book says, at a more mature stage, we obtain a synthetic and intuitive knowledge of reality by means of an experience that embraces the whole soul. This is a area when we go very deep, that's what the consultants do. The consultants get into a particular company. We get into the synthetic and intuitive knowledge of reality by looking into what is happening around. If you look at that area, there is plenty of opportunities by giving a different experience spectrum, which will totally change many of the companies who had undergone, like Volkswagen or Siemens. Many of the companies have gone through this process. That experience is needed to change. That's what cream dating is providing you with. We will discuss that. The third factor is intuition. He says, though it includes the testimony of will and feeling, is never fully attained without strenuous intellectual effort. It cannot dispense with the discipline of reason and the technique of proof. He goes on to warn that the intuitive consciousness is not to be confused with the instinctive. It's a very interesting observation by Dr. Radhakrishnan on what various aspects of philosophy he expounded. If you look at that first Hermes investment management, calling for an overhaul of the management corporate governance culture at Volkswagen. That was instantaneous. That was instinctive. Instinctive is a term we associate with reaction, and intuitive with knowledge, from gross to subtle. The dictionary meaning of it, however, describes instinctive as one without conscious thought, and intuitive as one without conscious reasoning. And as the expression goes, many a slip between the cup and the lip, as I state in my book. So when we go into the instinctive and intuitive with knowledge, there's a lot of area. Instinctive, we said that of the Hermes investment reacted. But when we analyze the three stages of mental evolution, senses are related to instinctive reaction. It's an immediate reaction we get. It doesn't, not only of Volkswagen, not only of what is that, November 2020, the US presidential election. The instinctive reaction to what is happening is that something is wrong. That is the instinctive. Same case with COVID-19. We can't put a finger. But to go further for my book, the reason to logical knowledge, which Dr. Radhakrishnan says is comparable to a finger that points to the object and disappears when the object is seen, is a very interesting observation. When we know that something is wrong with Volkswagen, but you do not know who the person is, you do not know COVID-19, something is wrong. We know that China is involved or not involved. But with so many things that have happened or happening around, we put a finger, we search for a finger. The finger is searching for something, object, and who is responsible for it. When that one goes and points up to the finger and disappears when the object is seen, that's what happens in reality. We know Volkswagen has done it. We know Bayer has done it. We know HP Autonomy has done it. We know Island of Us has done it. We know Kailon has done it. We know everything about what is, who has done it. When the object is seen, that our interest disappears. It is possibly because of the past practice. Nothing will come out of it. Why bother? And when $35 billion glyphosate is being bought over by, Monsanto bought over by Bayer, the glyphosate is going to cost quite a bit bought at $65 billion because of various restrictions. Same case with Volkswagen, $35 billion. Same case with HP. There's about $10 billion, just like that written off. Same case with Island of Us. Whole of 90,000 crores got into a major problem. You have the same thing carried on, almost closed. So when we do that, the interest in what ought to come out of it is no longer exists. That's what it says, that a finger that points to the object and disappears when the object is seen. That interest is not there. That is the second stage. When we know and we are reason to logical knowledge is gone, and we are not able to take any action of it, we just keep quiet. That's why the third one, whereas intuitive knowledge is to a higher wavelength of the discipline of reason with a technical proof. All three have a common thread. Instinctive reaction relates to a physical effort, reasoning to an intellectual effort. To trigger the finger to go in search of an object or a solution, that is intellectual effort. And intuitive knowledge to an intellectual effort of egoistic discrimination. That is my word, actually, which I have written in my book. The intuitive knowledge is to go further. For Volkswagen, they have done a big blunder, big mistake. The intuitive knowledge from my side says, which I have written in my articles, come out. Come back and tell how you assure the society that a similar thing will not happen in the future. Same case with Tata's, same case with Siemens, same case with Infosys. This should not happen. If it should not happen, then what had happened is that there's no relevance to management quality. But yet, in action process, it has been seen. You are able to say, point of the finger, that what is missing is that management quality is missing. Something you have not created the basis. So it is natural all these disasters will happen. That's what it really says. It's like in fact, it is Newton's third law. If there is a management quality available, there will be corporate governance. The corporate governance is missing. Management quality, there is no reference to it. There is no rule book. It is as simple as that. When we do that, that intuitive knowledge to an intellectual effort of egoistic discrimination. That is what I would like every green ratings certified professional to do that. If we create as many people, might keep shouting around to anybody, Infosys has not done or Volkswagen has done, is not an easy thing for any of us. So we require quite a number of green ratings professionals, certified professionals, to come and address this issue of creating intuitive knowledge to an intellectual effort of egoistic discrimination. You got to necessarily bring about the change. The change should come from the companies. And the change managers are outside. They are the certified professionals. So this in effect is what I would like to refer to the corporate governance toolkit is fully equipped in making all these three stages of analytics in terms of what is missing and not referred to who failed the three big audit firms. Is it corporate governance or management quality? They are of a different area. There are no owners. They are all masters. And yet they have done a great harm to themselves, I suppose. I will leave it to you. Use these and come with the proper answers.